Hello, hi, welcome to Blooming Mindfulness. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, thank you for your continuous support. Today, I would like to talk about the three different types of cuttings, which is top cut, mid cut, and bottom cut. So you should actually be considering the different kind of types of cuts when buying a plant because it affects the different outcomes that you might have that may or may not align to your goals. At the same time, it might also affect the results of how your plant eventually would look like. So to start us off, I think it's good that I talk a little bit about what is a top cut, mid cut, and bottom cut. So to help us over here, I have with me a golden dragon variegated. Okay, so this plant over here, if I were to cut at this point here, this is considered a top cut. Not because it's right at the top, but rather it includes the newest shoot. Okay, it includes the newest shoot. Okay, so when I cut it, this is called the top cut. And then moving on, if I were to take a leaf, say I do a cut over here and I do a cut over here, the in-between is known as a mid cut. And finally, this leaf together with the rest of the bottom part with the roots is considered the bottom cut. Now, when it comes to buying plants, it is extremely important that you know which cut your plant actually came from. What are you buying, and so that you can actually know what to expect. So let's talk about the pros and cons of the various type of cuts. Starting off from the top cuts. Now, top cuts are usually priced at a higher price, but why, and are they exactly something that you want to pay more for? So to join in that, I'm going to talk about typical leaf first. So typical leaf, you would want a top cut because of two reasons. The first reason would be that you want the consistent variegation that it gives. So for example, if you are looking at an elbow and the latest leaves is all half moon, all right, this is not the best specimen, but imagine this to be all half moon. Okay, you would want to get a top cut of this particular plant because the latest leaf, if it's half moon and consistent, should technically give you another half moon for the rest of the leaves. So in that case, you want to get a top cut because you're looking for this type of variegation. Just a word of caution, just because that one leaf is nicely variegated as half moon doesn't mean that the rest of the leaves will definitely be like that. 5 leaves, it could be like this, and then you have one leaf that is all green. So that's the problem with half moons, just to let you know. In fact, more often than not, you may end up with one full green leaf, one full white leaf, one full green leaf, one full white leaf. And that's the problem with having sectoral variations. Now, the second reason why you would want a top cut is because you want to retain the size. Alright, so if you take a look at my dragon over here, this is actually the second newest leaf, and this is the newest leaf. So the two leaves, as you can see, the size difference is pretty much the same. In fact, this has not completely hardened off. So because of that, when you get a top cut, you will retain the size and the variegation, right? So these are the benefits. Let's talk about con of a top cut. In all honesty, if you take a top cut, usually the top cuts, they take longer to root. Because imagine this, you are taking a plant, you're chopping it at the top where there may not be any roots. So to avoid this situation, what you would want to do is you want to air root the plant usually before you chop it. If you want to know more about air rooting, you can view my previous videos where I actually air rooted my green on green Monstera and I managed to propagate it. So if you actually air root your top cut, then there won't be any issues anymore. So if you're looking, say, to upsize a plant, for example, if you have a particular plant, like maybe say this, that you have been growing, it's been great, it's very huge, okay, but the bottom part of the leaves actually looks very small. That's where you actually want to chop off the top and let it grow again. Okay, I will show you an insert later on what I mean by that, on upsizing plants. Okay, the next thing, let's move on to meat cuts. So why would you want to buy a meat cut? So meat cuts are usually cheaper. Alright, they are a lot cheaper. In terms of rooting time, it is the same as a top cut. You would have to usually re-root it again unless it has been air layered already. Okay. So what are the cons of a meat cut? Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Certain plants you really shouldn't be buying meat cuts. What type of plants? Plants that revert very easily. Plants that usually give you sectorial variegation, like the dragon. Alright? Because these are sectorial variegation, it is very likely that when you do a meat cut, the node could come out from an area that is all white. So you think about it, how I like to explain it is that the stem of it, okay, is like a candy cane, right? It's like a candy cane. Imagine there are green and white stripes. What you want technically is for the node to grow out from a part that is in between the green and the white, so that the new growth carries the genes for both green and white, chlorophyll, the genes with chlorophyll and the genes for non-chlorophyll. Alright, then you get this nice balance of variegated leaves. Okay, it's what you want. But more often than not, sometimes the nodes can come out from the white part of the stem. And that's where it gets a bit dodgy and dangerous. So when buying certain plants such as the golden dragon variegated, I would always tell my friends, hey, please do not buy one leaf cutting. Okay, that's where it gets a bit dangerous, because the new shoot that is coming out, especially if the new shoot has not appeared, it's just a tiny little growing eye, that's where the sellers will give you the best, really a best deal, because even they themselves are not sure if the next leaf is going to come out variegated, especially with meat cuts for the golden dragon variegated, because it's sectorial. Sectorial meaning that there are sections of it, the whole sections is either all green or all white. So ideally, if it's all green, all white, you want it to grow out from in between, right? Yeah, but it's hard to predict in that sense. Sometimes you can see it, you know, you can roughly feel that, oh, there's a node space there, but many of the times we really can't. So that's where the type of plant that you're buying really affect whether or not you should be buying a meat cut. And then we go on to the bottom cut. Okay, so the bottom cut, the advantage of it is usually your plant shoots a lot faster. Okay, it shoots very fast because the root system is already very well grown, and at the same time it's a stable plant. So if you are looking for a stable plant, then you should go with a bottom cut. But I must warn you, a bottom cut, the disadvantage is the same as a meat cut when it comes to variegation, especially for plants that are renowned for being sectorial. So if they are renowned for being sectorial, there could be a chance that the plant could revert, either growing out all white or all green, and then your plant is reverted, and then you will have to cut again in order to get back the variegation. So let's talk a little bit of plants that I think that will give you good special plants with special consideration, whereby you can consider the bottom cut and the meat cut. For that, I'll be switching to VoiceOver Me to do a close-up explanation. Hi, it's VoiceOver Chris. So right over here, we have a plant that everybody seems to love at the current moment, the Monstera mint. So this being a very popular plant, I thought it would be good to talk a little bit about it. So for this plant, right, I would say that all three cuts are actually good. Why is that so? So obviously, if you can spend a little bit more, the top and the bottom part cutting is the best. Why? The top cutting over here retains the fenestrations. So if you were to do a top cut over here, okay, I would cut it over somewhere here, and then this leaf will continue to push a similar size leaf, retaining all the variegation and everything else. No issue. Now, the reason why I say a bottom cut or a mid cut for this plant is actually the most value for money, and it could be a blessing in disguise, is because the elbow version, or rather they call it full mint version of this, is actually more valuable than this sartorial one, whereby there are some solid greens and then you have this lovely green veined ones. This is called the mint portion. So even if it comes out all white, it's actually to your advantage in that sense. So what you end up getting is, instead of a mon mint, you will get something known as the full mint, as I'm showing over here. So the full mint presents itself as a very beautiful white base leaf with excellent veinations. You can see all the details. It is absolutely stunning. Okay, and then from then on, right, usually all the leaves would be mon mint. However, I must warn you that sometimes, rarely, I've not seen such yet, but it can happen that they may come out all green as well, because you can have all white like the full mint. You can also have the other side of the coin, but I think it's a good risk, because more often than not, I have seen mon mint coming out as either a mixture or it being a full mint. Okay, another plant that you want to consider getting the bottom cut or the mid cut would actually be the Monstera White Monster. So over here, I have a Monstera White Monster that has turned green completely. In fact, this was one of the variegated leaves. The previous leaves that were cut were completely dark green, none whatsoever. Okay, so I chopped it off. As you can see, the wound is here. It's been chopped off. Okay, and what happens is that new shoots grew out from these two sides. Okay, giving me two separate shoots on the same plant. Now, the interesting part about this is that the white monster is one of those plants whereby the more you cut, the whiter it becomes. So in this case, it is okay to get the bottom cut or the mid cut. Now, I would prefer to go with the bottom cut when it comes to a white monster, just simply because it has a better root system and the leaves will shoot up a lot faster. Okay, just take a look at this. So this is actually two fenestrations, right? But take a look at the new leaves that is up and coming. Okay, you can really see that it's heavily fenestrated with very nice green venations. Okay, so this is where one of the plants that I will consider a bottom cut. So some other plants that I will consider a bottom cut include plants that I know that the variegations are very similar. Okay, things like maybe even the Legacy or Green Snow or White Snow, because their variegation is so wide spread out, it really doesn't matter. Alright, I would also like to show you what happens with, could potentially happens with a bottom cut or a mid cut. So generally, a bottom cut is better because, as compared to a mid cut, because it's more stable, right? However, when it comes to variegation, both the mid cut and the bottom cut can occur like this. So you take a look at this mother plant leaf. Okay, this mother plant leaf is gorgeous, right? Good mixture of really good marbled variegation. However, when you take a look at the new leaves, this is the newest one. Okay, this is the second newest one. You will realize that the leaves are generally smaller with a bottom cut, as well as it has reverted to a juvenile form. So the mature form of it has more distinct features, while this one is more merged up together. And you take a look at the variegation. So the variegation in this case, it seemed to have lost the marbleness of it. So this can happen. So when this happens, right, I have a few options. I can grow it out for a few more leaves to see if the variegation returns to something like this, because the genes are there. or I can chop it and see what happens. So just take note that this can happen when you buy a bottom cut or a mid cut. Alright, so let's talk about certain plants that we know that the mature form is starkly different from the juvenile form. So one of them is actually the Burle-Marx flame. The mature form is actually very much coveted as compared to the juvenile form. So in this case, right, you need to be informed that the juvenile takes a really long time for it to reach maturity. And I'm really very blessed. This took me about, I think, 6 months. That's actually pretty fast. I have people clinging onto it for a year, and the most they've gotten is somewhere around here. So when you buy plants that the mature form takes forever to grow into, you would most definitely try to buy the mature form if it's priced at the right price. But of course, you are always welcome to buy a juvenile form, which the price is really amazing at this time for the Burle-Marx flame, and grow it up to be something like this. You just need to be patient. I'm back. So thank you so much for watching this video of mine. I hope you have a clearer idea between bottom cut, mid cut and top cut, so that you make a better informed decision the next time you are buying your next plant. Of course, feel free to hit me up if you need me to answer any questions. Any feedback is welcome. If you'd like me to create a video content of any other things regarding the plants, I will try. Thank you very much and have a wonderful week ahead.